And now, who says we can't? That's the focus of tonight's angle. All right, forget James Comey for a moment. What an amazing week this has been. Look at how they greeted Trump in Dubai tonight. The Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world, gives a salute to America. Now, personally, I love seeing all the pomp and circumstance for a real American president this week. Which country was the best host of the U.S. delegation, do you think? You watched a lot of it. Well, it was like they were all trying to outdo one another. America has never seen anything like this. For decades, we've been locked into fight mode, captive to stale strategies and dusty thinking. Americans were conditioned to believe that we couldn't show strength unless our military was firing missiles or we were dropping bombs somewhere. But Trump never bought any of this. He never bought that line. From day one, his attitude was, since this hasn't worked, why not try something different? His radical idea was, let's make more friends, more money for our people, and we'll fight fewer wars. Now, this simple concept has been at the core of this week's historic trip.
I don't think our friendship's ever been stronger than it is right now. And you will never see anything like the relationship that we have. We just left Saudi Arabia, as you know, and you have a fantastic crown prince.
These weren't cluster bombs. These were love bombs, and they continue today in the UAE. Trump was the first American president to visit there. So rather than insult them with lectures, he took time and showed respect.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Your Highness. What a lot of people don't know, I think my staff is very surprised by it. You and I have been friends for a long time. We've been good friends. And what they don't know about you is that you are considered a truly great warrior.
This is how you do it. It's diplomacy, Trump style. And it often involves business that's mutually beneficial. And his involving corporate leaders, frankly, that was a masterstroke. And it's paying dividends, first in Saudi Arabia, then in Qatar, and today in Abu Dhabi.
A wonderful brother came to Washington a few weeks ago, and he told us about your generous statement as to the $1.4 trillion. And all I could say is thank you very much. We have now, I think, substantially over $10 trillion of investment. And now when I add the $1.4 trillion, we easily break that number. We're having numbers that we've never done before. We are going to be your friend, and we're going to be your partner, and we really appreciate your confidence and an investment. That's your biggest investment that you've ever made, and we really appreciate it.
What a concept. An American president as the promoter-in-chief of the United States. Unapologetically pro-American, with a hand of friendship always extended.
I shook more hands than any human being is capable of doing. They were starving for love because our country didn't give them love. They gave them a fist bump. Remember the fist bump in Saudi Arabia? He travels all the way to Saudi Arabia in that case, and he gives them a fist bump. That's not what they want. They don't want a fist bump. They want to shake his hand.
More than a fist bump. But wait. I thought it was Biden. Remember, he flew all around the world. He was the master at foreign affairs. After all, he was so inspiring.
The message I want the world to hear today: America is back. America is back. Diplomacy is back at the center of our foreign policy.
Oh, yeah, that didn't work out too well. Joe may have logged a lot of miles on government jets and met all the world leaders, but none of it, and I mean none of it, meant that Americans were any better off. Instead, a lot of us in America were embarrassed. And now, a new era with Trump 2.0. It's hard work, friendship, and optimism.
This has been an amazing trip. We've raised trillions of dollars of investment for our country. And we're dealing with really good people that have been abandoned in a way by our country and by the United States. And we're not going to abandon. We have very good friends in Saudi Arabia. and in Qatar. They felt abandoned. They were going to be captured by China from the standpoint of trade, and that's not going to happen anymore.
No, it won't happen again. But only Trump and his team saw this. Remember, for years, the old dinosaurs of the D.C. foreign policy establishment, you know who they are, they dismissed, they ridiculed his brash approach. They called out his supposed foreign policy naivete. But after this trip,
I'm not in the habit of praising Donald Trump, but I got to tell you, the last week or so in the Middle East, I think the president has in this last week or so played the Middle East pretty darn well. I got to give him some kudos there.
I don't know why Joe Biden didn't do this. I don't like Trump's motivations for lots of things he does, but one thing you will say is he's not like tied to this like constant fear, stupid, blob type, well, we don't do this, so we must leverage the sanctions for blah, 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 No, sometimes you just have to try something different.
okay, liberals praising Trump. Then this headline, Biden officials impressed by Trump's Middle East visit. One saying, gosh, I wish I could work for an administration that could move so quickly. And the China box out also getting noticed in this piece, calling Trump's trip remarkable because of mega deals and because he's outfoxing China. Again, that is 100% right. Think of all the idiotic headlines trashing Trump's approach to foreign affairs. He's just like Putin. He's destroying our alliances. Total chaos. But through all of that, Trump just ignored the white noise and he kept smiling. You notice he's smiling a lot in his second term? And he's doing things his way and knowing that it was his job to fix the mess that all the others had left behind. And that's the angle.
Well, Trump woke up in Qatar this morning and told the sheikh, last night was fun, but I got to go. The Qatari said, please stay. We have more jets.
Here comes the flyover.
Trump said, I love you, but there's someone else. 47 then went to one of the richest countries of all, the United Arab Emirates. Donald Trump was escorted by an army of BMWs and Mercedes. Nice cars, but we prefer made in America. For the first time in history, Abu Dhabi closed its biggest mosque so Trump could get a private tour. Out of respect, President Trump took his shoes off to walk on the largest handmade carpet in the world. He told reporters he was taken by how beautiful the mosque was. He said, this is an incredible culture. Pure white marble as far as you could see. Then 47 went to the Royal Palace, where he got a hero's welcome. At this point, Trump's shaken every hand in the Mideast.
I shook more hands than any human being is capable of doing. That was a long deal, and they were big people, but they were starving for love because our country didn't give them love. They gave them a fist bump. Remember the fist bump?
Trump's wrist got so tired from shaking hands, he let Lutnick sign the deal.
Better be a good deal. That's gonna be good.
The UAE is investing $1.4 trillion in America. We're building a huge AI data center in their country, and they lit up their city red, white, and blue to celebrate. But that might have been topped when the royal awarded Trump with his country's highest honor.
I am honored to announce that His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan bestows the Order of Zayed upon President Trump.
Betting sites have Trump favored to win the Nobel Peace Prize. On this trip, he kind of earned it. America spent trillions trying to bring peace to the Middle East, and now Trump's making them pay us, and they love us. Today, 47 said he's getting close to making a deal with Iran. But if they don't play ball, things could get ugly. Iran's losing friends in the Middle East. Trump's making nice with the bad boys. This plan's been a decade in the making.
So 8 years ago, it was security, the destruction of ISIS, the Abraham Accords. Now, it's prosperity with these incredible deals. The two are inextricably intertwined.
Kellyanne Conway says this is peace through wealth. But the prosperity only sizzles if you're on our side.
We don't want India, for instance, continuing to buy weapons from Russia. We obviously want to end the illicit oil trade between China and Iran. We don't want Iran sending drones to Russia. There's a lot of moving parts here, but if you want stability, you need to have stronger ties with some of our partners.
The combination of trade deals and military protection makes us a great partner. India just dropped all tariffs on the United States. After Pakistan knocked down a bunch of their planes, they won't be buying Russian jets anymore. They'll be buying F-35s. If Iran and Russia don't have anybody on their side, they'll have no leverage. Trump has the keys.
Deals are all about timing. When the time is right, that's when the president is in the room with Putin. But my expectation is imminently.
What does imminently mean?
That's all you're getting.
Putin won't come to the table until Trump's on the other side. It could happen any day.
We'll be leaving tomorrow, as you know. Almost destination unknown, because we're getting close. Could you be here? Could you be there?
But before Trump left the Middle East, he surprised our troops with special guests Lee Greenwood and Theo Vaughn.
And welcome to Hannity, and we are coming to you from beautiful Abu Dhabi, right here in the United Arab Emirates. It is currently 9 o'clock on the East Coast, 5 a.m. right here in the UAE, where President Trump capped off yet another day of his historic Middle Eastern trip. And for the third day in a row, it was a day of victories for the administration. In fact, this trip has been so productive that even former Biden officials, according to a new Axios report, they are in awe of what he has been able to accomplish. Now, President Trump began his day at a breakfast with business leaders in Qatar, where he touted the trillions in investments that he has secured and the millions of jobs that it could lead to in the United States, high-paying career jobs. Here's what he said.
We've raised trillions of dollars in investments. There's never been anything like it. And just to finish, we have a country that now has, I think, Howard, we can say that at least $10 trillion of investment and potential investment. And if the past administration did $500 billion, it was like a lot. But we did it in 2 months. I want to thank the Emir, because he put up a lot in terms of investment. It could amount to 2 million, 3 million, maybe even 4 million jobs in the United States. And more importantly, it's really important stuff. It's tremendous refining capabilities. It's capabilities for very high-end. AI is a big subject, and it's a big subject over here, too. I always say, what are you investing in? It seems one thing everybody seems to have in common is AI. So I don't know if that's a good thing or bad. Maybe you shouldn't do it because too many people are doing it, or maybe you should follow the crowd, fellas, okay? So you're going to figure it out. I just want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank the media. The media, I have to say, has been very fair. They've been very fair. They've been terrific, actually. I was watching some of our, normally they would not say good things, but they're having a hard time saying bad, because this is a record tour. There's never been a tour that will raise, it could be a total of $3.5–4 trillion.
And in a few minutes, by the way, Howard Lutnick will join us, and he'll talk about AI, and he'll talk about semiconductor chips and the deal they signed here in Abu Dhabi. And after Trump's repeated warnings to Iran, according to a breaking report from NBC last night, the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism, they finally indicated they would be open to a nuclear deal. Now, that would, according to one Iranian official, include Iran committing to never producing nuclear weapons, getting rid of their stockpiles of highly enriched uranium. And that means also stopping all enrichment forever. And of course, international inspectors, and that must include American inspectors that will have to supervise the process in exchange for the immediate lifting of all economic sanctions on Iran. But if there was ever a trust but verify moment, this is certainly it, and a lot at stake here. But speaking this morning, President Trump issued another warning to Iran should this deal fail. Take a look.
You probably read today the story about Iran has sort of agreed to the terms. They're not going to make, I call it in a friendly way, nuclear dust. We're not going to be making any nuclear dust in Iran. And we've been strong. I want them to succeed. I want them to end up being a great country, frankly, but they can't have a nuclear weapon. That's the only thing. It's very simple. It's not like I have to give you 30 pages worth of details. There's only one sentence. They can't have a nuclear weapon. And I think we're getting close to maybe doing a deal without having to do this. There's two steps. There's a very, very nice step, and there's a violent step. The violence like people haven't seen before. And I hope we're not going to have to do this. I don't want to do the second step.
And reporting on that meeting, the president made those comments numerous times. Now, before departing for the UAE, President Trump delivered remarks to U.S. military personnel stationed in Qatar, highlighting the strength of our military, touting his administration's military reforms, while teasing a possible pay raise for our troops that work so hard and sacrifice so much. Take a look.
I'm thrilled to be here with the men and women who embody American strength and pride, the warriors of the United States Armed Forces. It's an amazing group of people. You are, without a doubt, the greatest fighting force in the history of the world. That's the way it is. I said it last night. I said it strong. We have the strongest military in the world. There's not even a contest. We have the best equipment. Nobody has equipment like us. Nobody has the planes or the missiles or anything else. And as your commander-in-chief, I'm here to say that America's military will soon be bigger, better, stronger, and more powerful than ever before. As president, my priority is to end conflicts, not start them, but I will never hesitate to wield American power if it's necessary to defend the United States of America or our partners. My 2026 budget includes across the board. Maybe you don't want it. Look, for the good of the country, you don't have to take it. Pay raises for each and every one of you, substantial pay raises.
Now, before departing Qatar, the country bestowed one final honor on President Trump and performed a military flyover before he boarded Air Force One. And as it approached Abu Dhabi, the UAE followed what Saudi Arabia did and Qatar did, and they sent fighter jets to escort Air Force One right to the runway. Now, during the flight from Qatar to the UAE, the president weighed in on Vladimir Putin skipping the peace talks with Ukraine. He told reporters why. Here's what he said.
Look, nothing's going to happen until Putin and I get together, okay? And obviously he wasn't going to go. He was going to go, but he thought I was going to go. He wasn't going if I wasn't there. And I don't believe anything's going to happen, whether you like it or not, until he and I get together. But we're going to have to get it solved because too many people are dying.
Now, upon arriving in Abu Dhabi, once again, the red carpet was rolled out for President Trump after being greeted by the president of the UAE. He participated in a full welcome ceremony to celebrate his arrival before his motorcade departed and moved through the streets of Abu Dhabi, which, just like in the previous countries he was visiting here in the Gulf states, lined with American flags, just as they were in Riyadh and Doha. And in what might have been one of the strongest showings of solidarity, the tallest building in the world was lit up tonight like the American flag. Now, during the bilateral meeting in Abu Dhabi today, the UAE's president bestowed the highest possible civilian honor on the president. And take a look at this incredible moment.
Will you give me the honors?
And remember, less than 2 months ago, the UAE committed to invest $1.4 trillion in the U.S. over the next 10 years. Make no mistake, this trip was nothing short of a triumph for the country, for the president. He secured what is trillions of dollars in investments for the U.S., which will inevitably lead to millions and millions of high-paying career jobs, especially, we'll get to it later, with Howard Lutnick, semiconductor chips, artificial intelligence, and more importantly, the president outlined his vision for a brighter, more peaceful future in the Middle East. It is literally a possibility now. He has strengthened ties with these Arab nations, and perhaps more importantly, this visit signified a new world order, one in which countries in the Middle East will turn to President Trump, turn to the U.S. to counter Iranian aggression and hegemony in the region.
You just leave your room keys at the door. Happy Thursday, everyone. So on a recent podcast, former First Lady Michelle Obama complained about the time Ellen DeGeneres challenged her to a push-up contest. Michelle found it oddly uncomfortable since Ellen insisted on laying underneath her. Because she's a lesbian. Speaking of, Michelle also admitted on the podcast that she fights with her husband over the thermostat. She wants it at 70 degrees, while he wants it up his butt. According to a new book, Joe Biden brought in famed director Steven Spielberg to help with his campaign. They called the operation Saving Diane Biden. According to the same book, Kamala Harris's campaign team held a fake cocktail party without alcohol so she could work on her social skills without a drink in her hand. But she showed them and brought her trusty beer helmet. Good for her. Don't let him change you, Kamala. While arguing about a deported illegal criminal, Eric Swalwell warned Kristi Noem that he has a detector, which he obviously hadn't purchased until after he banged that Chinese spy. Speaking of, according to a new report, Chinese spies have infiltrated Stanford University. This became very apparent when all the graduation gowns showed up neatly folded and pressed. Oscar-winning actress Halle Berry says she doesn't know if a woman should ever play James Bond. After all, women already have a license to kill. It's called a driver's license.
Gutfeld.
Yeah.
I don't want you to be alone.
Thank you. The first great white shark of the season was spotted off Montauk in New York. Officials warned swimmers to beware of the shark and warned sharks to beware of Joy Behar. And finally, did you see President Trump's visit to the Middle East? I know, holy cow. I haven't seen that many men in dresses since the WNBA draft. All right. What? That was a good little run there. All right. So did you hear egg prices have dropped big time? And not just eggs, but groceries overall. It's the biggest drop in 5 years, if you don't count Joe Biden's testicles. But you want to see how CNN reports it? Here's their headline. Quote, Trump's egg price fiction has suddenly become reality. Yeah, Trump's fiction, now reality. Meaning when Trump turns out to be right, it's only because reality caught up to his lies. In CNNese, that headline translates as, he may be right, but he's still evil. Next, they'll say egg prices have dropped, but that's bad for trans chickens. You know they're trans because they tuck their McNuggets. So remember the I word, inflation? Yeah, neither does the media, because it no longer works for them. And what about the stock market? The media had investors stepping out on a ledge, and not just to drop a water balloon on the homeless guy below. Tariffs were supposed to cause such an economic collapse that it convinced me to stop paying my riders. And what of the assertion that Trump would be a laughingstock on the global stage? Have you seen what's going on in the Middle East? They're giving him jets as a housewarming gift. Oh, Biden wasn't even worth a barf bag and an extra bag of Sun Chips. You know, it's weird how we're always right and the media's always wrong. If this were a marriage, they'd be the husband. But, yeah. But Americans are sick of it. A recent poll found that 49% of voters think media bias is getting worse, compared to just 11% who see it getting better. Meanwhile, 44% of voters agree with this statement: no matter how much you hate the media, it's not enough. You know, I have that same feeling, but it's for sharing an elevator with Brit Hume after he's had his sardine smoothie. Don't knock it, Greg. It's good. It's good for the prostate.
We gotta get it.
Really good for the prostate. Put it down my throat, comes out, great. But that's not just losing trust, that's burning down an entire industry and peeing on the ashes. This hatred is bipartisan, not just Trump bros and monster trucks playing Kid Rock at max volume. We're talking independents, centrists, even bored libs who keep getting let down because they're being led down the path of defeat. So it raises a new question. If we're tired of the media's lies, why aren't they tired of it too? I mean, I can understand a liar continuing to lie if it pays off. That's how I talk my way past the height restrictions on most roller coasters. But what if the filter you use keeps predicting the wrong outcome? Wouldn't you get tired of that? Wouldn't you go back to the drawing board when you see that it doesn't work anymore? It's like when I realized I can't keep firing my secretaries when they won't date me. Again, it's one thing to make millions selling swampland in Florida, but it's another thing to try to sell swampland, and it's you who ends up in the moss and the mud. The grift isn't just not working out on us, it's not working for them either. And surely by now the media and Dems have heard enough of the criticism. They're out of ideas, they're too woke, too disconnected from voters. But it's clear they still ignore it, because they haven't changed. But what they can't ignore is that the filter they're using to perceive reality predicts nothing except defeat and misery. Think of the mindset that led them to embrace the Maryland dad, that led them to think men could play in women's sports, that led them to think this corpse was conscious, or this clown could win. Their mindset led them to think parents would accept tampons in boys' bathrooms and drag queens in school libraries. I could go on, but then I would be late for my pole dancing class. Thank you. Reduces stress. I mean, imagine if you were a gambler and you had this system that picked horses, but every single time you lost. Wouldn't you dump your betting strategy? Or at the very least, pick up a healthier habit like meth? When your frame of reference leads to defeat at every turn, shouldn't you lose that frame of reference? You'd think they would, but so far they won't. When it comes to self-reflection, the media is less curious than Elton John around a stack of Playboys. Let's welcome tonight's guest. Audiences root for him to get off the stage. Writer and comedian Joe DeVito. She's got talking points and hollow points. Fox News contributor and editor for Town Hall, Katie Pavlik. She may be cheerful, but she'll give you an earful. Outnumbered co-host Emmy Calpano. And the Statue of Liberty looks up to him. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, and former NWA world champion, Tyra. Joe, now that egg prices are dropping, Will you finally afford breakfast or lunch or whatever you eat?
Yes, well, I'm so glad I had my eggs frozen a couple years ago. Seemed like the right call. I'm tempted to get Jake Tapper's book just so I can read acting like it's a revelation for them to admit to the things we've been saying for 4 years.
Yes.
It didn't take investigative journalism to know that Joe Biden was a zucchini this whole time.
Yeah.
And it's just, they didn't just lie, they insulted us. They said, you remember deep fakes?
Yes.
They said, oh, this wasn't what you were actually seeing. You weren't actually seeing a president who needed to be airlifted onto the plane.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's crazy that they have squandered that. The news media's job is to tell the truth.
Yeah.
And when they stop doing that, they've got nothing left. You know, and they talked about some of the videos we mentioned. Did Steven Spielberg help with his 30-second promo that he did for his campaign that had 45 edits in it?
Yeah.
Where he was like, make my day, I'll do the debate. Like, he was so clearly incompetent, and I just think, I don't know what they're going to do now.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do, because how do you come back from saying, I know we're supposed to tell the truth, but we lied this time, we lied this time. Joe Scarborough said, I wouldn't lie to you, and he cursed at you. And you have to look at him and say, is he an idiot? Is he a liar? I say, why choose?
Yeah.
Why put limits on the man? And he can be both.
Yes, he can be both. You know, Katie, the thing that gets me is, like, we can give all this constructive criticism to the media. They're not going to take it. So why don't they just look at the outcomes from their filter? If you wake up every morning expecting like a Trump failure and it's not there, there's something wrong with your filter. Maybe you should change the filter.
Well, first, Greg, I'm glad to see that you have a new hobby. I was
Yeah.
very concerned that you don't have enough to do. So I'm glad pole dancing is now taking up some of your time.
Yeah.
That's a great question. And it's because they are insulated still. They are not willing to actually get out and learn and take some responsibility, and they're so narcissistic that they're not willing to, you know, say that they were wrong, because now there's money to be made. So the same people who were yelling at Lara Trump in the 2020 election that Joe Biden just had a stutter, there wasn't an incompetence issue there. And then now you fast forward 5 years, and now there's money to be made on a shameless book.
Yeah.
And it's because they all do this for each other. You know, they scratch each other's back, and they are in this isolationist bubble where they really can't come to the terms of just admitting they were wrong. And so this has diminishing returns, right? At some point, the circle becomes smaller because some people will leave, and they'll have to find something else to do. But they're just not willing to admit it, and they're around all the same people with no differing ideology all of the time. So that's why it continues.
Yeah, you know what, Emily? You're a very happy person. You're very bubbly. You light up a room like an arsonist. So I'm stuck on this, the way they view things and how it's always wrong. That has to correlate with the fact that all of these Democrats look so miserable. Imagine getting up and your arch nemesis is always winning, and you have to wake up like a competing cheerleader. It's like always besting you, and you're like, I hate this person. And every day that person wins. Isn't it time for you to say, okay, I gotta let this go?
Well, the graceful person would. The after-school special main character in me would say it only ends with death. Yeah, look, Katie's absolutely right. It's the insular nature, and I think what you're describing, it's so baked in, it's literally impossible for them to extricate themselves from it. It's like learning that someone's, behavior, their depression, it was a chemical imbalance.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing they could do to actually get over it, to click out of the emperor's new clothes. And the fact that in this machine of media, that this person goes to the producer and says, I'm going to phrase the headline this way, and then they say, oh yeah, sure, it's signed off on by 1 million people. There is zero common sense. There's zero auditing happening that's from an outside source. 49%, as you said, of people thinking that the media is dying, right? That they hate it. It reminds me of the Wicked Witch dying slowly, that we are watching it. We're watching it in real time, but what happens next, right? We're seeing the rise of the independent journalists, people who actually ask questions and podcasts and the like, but there is still this industry. And so I don't know where it all goes, but I think it's up to the advertising dollars and it's up to the network heads to shut that down.
Cyrus. I think this Biden stuff is big, and it's going to get bigger. And the media, I think, is looking at it and going like, where are we going to end up? They're terrified.
No, the media is like a husband who's been caught cheating and he has a girlfriend and a wife on the side.
And a wife?
On the side, yeah. And he got
2 wives.
He got caught.
He's got a girlfriend and a wife.
Don't correct me, Gutfeld. He's got a girlfriend and a wife on the side.
Okay.
I'm going somewhere with this.
Okay.
They both found out.
Right.
Okay? But in his mind, one of them will come back. So he doesn't have to change anything.
Ah.
So the
That's
so the
good.
media isn't going to change because they still have somebody coming back to them.
Yes.
They're still in their bubble. When they tweet, they still get love from their little world. They're trying to get in front. What are they trying to do? And you pointed this out before anybody did, so I'll give you credit for this. They tried to point out physical things.
Yeah.
Oh, he was going to have to be in a wheelchair. And America's like, oh no. Ever heard of Governor Abbott?
Yeah.
He does a stand-up job in Texas.
Yeah.
So
It's true. Only the ablest would see that as an insult.
He does. He's always on his toes. The guy's good. But the point is, is that they still are the criminal in the corner trying to find a way to wiggle out. They're trapped. They're in a corner, but the American people aren't putting enough pressure on them, and they're still getting the blessings of the people who cut their checks. Because if this was a moment of awakening, if they were like, hey, this cover up and we're going to clean it up, the first thing they would do was fire every person on TV who pushed that to the American people.
Right.
That would be the first thing to do. And if Jake Tapper then had any credibility, they would resign because they were a willing participant lying to the American people, trying to influence elections. They're still doing it. Even when Trump has a win, and reading the horrible CNN article, there was like, well, at the time when he said eggs were coming down, they weren't down yet, so he lied, and then his lie turned into truth 48 hours later.
Yeah.
So he's still a liar. They're still doing that. They're still the one. It goes back to the cheating thing. You catch your wife cheating, and she's like, how dare you break into my phone?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of a person goes in my phone? You're sleeping with my brother. It's not about that. It's about trust. And you were in my phone. What gives you the right to be in my phone?
Yes.
You be doing too much.
I told you that story in confidence, Tyrus. All right.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.